guys, this is Lalana. Thanks for tuning into the Sovereign Path. So today we're going to talk about the 5D frequency union, the 5D frequency interaction, relationship, if we want to call it that, dynamic connection that we have with the Divine Masculine, with our twin flame. And so I coach a lot of people, and a lot of stuff comes up in regard to me having more awarenesses. If I sort of see a theme through the comments and through coaching and stuff like that, then generally I know that's when I need to make some content and some videos about those certain themes for you guys. And so that's where this one is coming from. So it's this really, and I understand that the ego has a very difficult time understanding what this dynamic is, right? The ego it doesn't get it. The mind is never going to understand this. And this is really the reason why we just feel like we're kind of running into the same wall and banging our head against the same wall or hitting the same dead end and, going around in circles and all of this sort of stuff. Because the thing is that we still are looking at this dynamic for the most part until we come into inner union as if that this is just a physical romantic relationship with someone, similar with your twin, similar to romantic relationships that you have had in the past. And so I've talked about this a lot. And I still am noticing that that some people are a little bit confused around what we're actually saying when we're talking about having, a 5D union in the material world, basically. And so I just want to kind of bring this through in a way that hopefully will resonate a little bit more with some of you who are still sort of, wondering exactly what's going on. And that is that, yes, you are having a physical interaction with this person, right? With your twin, if they're in your life physically. Some people, you guys are in separation, so I understand that. But for those of you who are having this physical interaction with the twin, or who want this physical interaction with the twin, we have to really understand that, yes, you are still moving from your 3D avatar. We still have a 3D avatar. We still have 3D stuff around us, right? Yes, the environment in which we live still looks and breathes in 3D, in its shape, in its size, in its color, and all of these sort of things, right? But what we're talking about when we're saying having a connection, a dynamic, a lasting physical interaction with the twin, we're talking about a 5D frequency. In order to have a lasting harmonious interaction with the twin in the physical, in your 3D avatar, right, you have to be operating from unity consciousness. You have to be operating from the 5D. This is a 5D frequency and higher union within and without. That is what's happening here. And so the thing is that I understand that the ego goes round and round and round, and the mind tells all the stories, and the emotional body is, freaking out and throwing itself on the ground and doing all of those sort of things. But we need to get to a point where we have the awareness of, again, I need to work through what's coming up, and I need to see what's coming up. But at the same time, I have to have a higher awareness and a higher understanding that this dynamic that is playing out between me and me is not based in a third dimensional reality of separation consciousness. It is based in a fifth dimensional reality of unity consciousness, a 5D frequency, and higher. That's just what it is. And this is what keeps most of us spinning for a really long time. And this is why I say things like, are you meditating, right? Are you connecting with your higher self? Are you connecting with the higher masculine, the true masculine that is you? This is why I say things like the masculine never leaves you. The masculine is within you. The masculine is not out there somewhere. The masculine is walking beside you, within you, around you, every single solitary step of this path, right? There is literally no such thing as you being separate from the masculine, because the masculine is you and you share a soul, other than the fact that we are experiencing this separation paradigm in the 3D that is based on 3D programs and patterns that relationships run on. We have to get to a point on this path where we understand that that is not what this relationship is. And this is why, you know, we keep kind of going round and round, and we're still looking at, you know, the physical aspect of the twin to, you know, fill these boxes and show up in these ways and all of these sort of things. Because we can't keep looking in that direction as if this is the same sort of dynamic that we have been experiencing in the past. It's not the same sort of dynamic that you've experienced in the past, and it never will be. And this is why I say it's not a 3D relationship. It isn't a 3D relationship. And I get pushback on that, and that's all fine and good. But the facts are the facts are the facts. This is a 5D union. That's what it is. It's just a 5D union. And we're experiencing it in our 3D avatar when we are in our unity consciousness, which is also moving from the 5D and higher. So it's like we need to get into that awareness, and that's why I keep saying that it's so important to feel into what you are, right? Feel into the true vibration that is you. Communicate with your guides. Meditate. Feel into the higher aspects that are you, right? It's like when we're always focusing on the 3D masculine, and we're always so used to that, the ego continues to freak out and stomp its feet and have a fit, because it doesn't understand why this dynamic doesn't fit the way that all the other templates that it's used to fitting doesn't fit, right? It doesn't understand that. And so that's why that loop continues to go round and round, right? The emotional body is freaking out. The ego is chitter-chattering and trying to tell you that it knows what's going on. The mind is saying whatever it's saying. All the while, these are very valuable aspects of us that, yes, we need to embrace, we need to call home, we need to love, and all of those things. But at the same time, these aspects of us, they are not really assistant on this path. They're just not. And we're so reliant on our, you know, our normal mode of operation being these things, being the mind, being the ego, being the emotion. We're used to, obviously, directing our life in this way through these aspects of us. And then the soul is saying, yes, but those aspects of you have served you well, but they can't help you on this path, right? Because those aspects of you are still moving from separation. And as long as we're moving from separation, we will continue to see the 3D masculine, the physical masculine, as separate. Which means as long as we're seeing them as separate, and as long as we're trying to fit this dynamic, right, this union into a 3D paradigm, then we're still moving from separation consciousness. And that's why it doesn't fit. That's why it continues to have this on and off dynamic and this patterning that's going back and forth. Because the soul is saying, trust me, right? Follow me. Let me drive the car. Let me show you. Let me remind you who you are, what you are, where you're from, why you're here, right? Let me show you. And all the while, the ego is saying, no, 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 no. You got to do it this way, this way, this way, and this way. And so we get so racked up in the thoughts and in the emotion, and it's just like it speeds on itself, and it snowballs on itself, and it keeps going. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And it's just like speeding down the mountain, you know, this giant snowball is speeding down the mountain. And all the while, the soul is over there, you know, quietly, patiently watching and waiting for us to have the aha moment and the realization that, oh, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that, right? Ascension doesn't work like that. Awakening doesn't work like that. The twin flame path doesn't work like that. You know, we're literally shifting from one vibration to another vibration. We're literally shifting frequency, and we're literally birthing new frequency in partnership on Earth, right? That's what all awakenings are doing. That's what oneness is. It's what unity consciousness is. It's what that is. It's the interconnectedness with all things, right? So we're literally shifting, changing, you know, reprogramming, repatterning what the romantic relationship templates look like. We're changing that. We are literally changing that. As wayshowers, as twin flames, as light workers, as lighthouses, we are the change makers. So you came here to do this. You have the tools to do it. You came here to do it. And this is why I say things like, it's bigger than just a romantic interaction with you and you, right? This is bigger than that. It's grander than that. It has more purpose than that. You know, people are always saying, well, you know, as soon as I find my purpose, then I'll be able to be with my twin, you know, physically or romantically. So I'm trying to figure out what my purpose is. Your purpose is to awaken, right? Your purpose is to come out of the program, to come out of the pattern that we continue to run that is saying, as soon as this happens, then I can have this, right? That's still another limited belief, right? The purpose is awakening. The purpose is ascension. The purpose is to come into unity consciousness. And the more that we're focused on how the 3D operates in romantic partnerships and how the pain body is reacting to that without diving in and saying, okay, I'm going to face this stuff. I'm going to clear this stuff. I'm going to transmute this. I'm not going to keep identifying with the story. I'm not going to keep telling the same story over and over again until we get to that point that we're really just like, I'm done, you know, creating the same narrative and the same reality over and over again because I know how it looks and I know how it plays out. Until we get to that point, it's going to keep looking the same way, right? That's just what it is, unfortunately. It's just going to keep coming up like that. And we have this idea that the divine masculine is out there and they're doing this or they're doing that or they're not by our side or, you know, they're not supportive of us or whatever, when the truth is that the divine masculine, the higher masculine, hasn't left your side for 1 second. Not 1 second. It's not even possible. The truth is that the higher masculine, that is you, is guiding you through this entire process, right? Always, always with you, always. It's the perception that the ego is seeing through that sees the separation and that sees the illusion and the dream as real. And we believe that, and we've been believing it for so long that we don't know how to step out, right? So it's basically shifting the narrative from this is everything I believe and seeing the, you know, the 3D paradigm and the 3D program and the 3D pattern to having the awareness of I'm awakening and let me embrace my awakening. Let me embrace my ascension. And as that happens, your vibration rises, you shift, your life changes. Things move around, things get reorganized, right? Your gifts come online. You start to be able to see energy or read energy or be psychic or have your clairs come on. I mean, it's not something that you're ever going to miss if you're truly going through a spiritual awakening. It's right up front and in your face. And the fact that it's right up front and in our face all the time, and we're always getting these messages and these signs and these awarenesses, and at the same time, it's like, it's so stark and it's so there and it's so vivid when you're on this path, and still somehow we keep trying to take that old exit off the interstate that's saying, but I know this way, right? It's the ego's doing, but I know how to go, I know how to get home that way, right? And the meanwhile, it's like the signs keep getting louder, the numbers keep getting louder, you know, all the stuff is just like, it's your soul and the higher self saying, what can we do to possibly show you that this is real? That this is real, that this is the direction, that this is the road, that this is the exit that you need to get off on. Not that old exit that you keep getting off on over and over again. This exit, it's like flashing lights and it's all over the place, right? And we keep having that same narrative of like, yeah, but, you know, but the physical masculine, but the physical masculine, right? this is that pattern, right? This is that loop. And there's only so much that the higher self and the soul that is you can do to finally like get your attention to the point that you're not going to keep trying to look in the opposite way or get off the wrong exit over and over again, the old exit over and over again. And so just the awareness of, if you're experiencing a true twin flame dynamic, then you are going through a spiritual awakening. And so you are having all of these changes and all of this stuff up front and in your face, and you can't ignore it. And so the fact that a lot of us are trying to ignore it or trying to circumvent it is part of the issue. Because the thing is the soul is saying, but I'm right here showing you the way. And your higher masculine is right there next to him saying, I'm right here showing you the way. I'm showing you the way. I'm giving you all the information. I'm giving you all the signs, right? And this is what happens. And that is what they do. And then they get to the point where like, okay, you have the tools now. You have all the tools. We've been driving along, beside you, helping you ride the bike. The training wheels have been off or been on the whole time. We're showing you how to do this, right? All the signs, all the stuff, we're in your face, you're awakening. Let's do this. This is all the stuff. We're guiding you to this person or this person or this person. This video is showing up, this video is showing up. It's like a barrage of stuff that happens when you're experiencing this path. It's like you can't ignore it. They're literally giving you everything you need to walk the path, right? And so then they're holding on to the back of the bike seat, helping you learn to ride that bike. And finally they let go and they take the training wheels off and they say, okay, you're strong enough to ride this bike on your own. We know you can do it. And a lot of times that's when things kind of get quiet and you feel like, well, where'd all the signs go? Where'd all the numbers go? I was communicating with my higher self all the time and I felt them around me, or I felt my divine masculine with me all the time. And now where'd everybody go? It's at that point that the awareness is, you have the tools to walk this and you need to come into your own empowerment and start walking the path, right? So just having that awareness that if you're experiencing this, then these things are going to always be in your face is like, as I've said in a lot of other videos, is like the biggest green flag that this path is not anything that you have ever experienced in your life, and that it does not fit into an old 3D paradigm or template of how romantic relationship, romantic interaction works, right? It doesn't work. We've got to stop looking into that old narrative, right? We have to start shifting and paying attention to the higher awarenesses, right? All of the soul. We need to start listening to the soul. Which way do I go, soul, right or left? Right? We need to start feeling into the energy that's coming up for us all the time. Start getting acutely aware of the energy that is coming up for you. Does it feel heavy? Does it feel loud? Does it feel like it's stomping its feet? Right? Is it always talking to you constantly? That's ego doing that. That's the ego mind doing that. And a lot of times it's the emotional pain body freaking out and having a fit, trying to get your attention, right? And like trying to steer the car and all of those sort of things based on old programs, based on old patterns. Whereas the soul is saying, I'm right here and I've got all the signs right here and I've been showing you all the signs, and just follow me, follow me. And it doesn't scream at you, it doesn't shout, it's quiet, it's gentle, it's peaceful, it's loving. And we feel this energy all the time. We feel the energy of if I'm feeling like heavy and, discordant and distorted energy and this doesn't feel good, and all that. We know what that is, right? Having the awareness of just that, it's like being in that place of saying, is this what I choose? Is this my highest timeline? Is this what I want to feel? It never is, it never is. And then over here we have like, oh, this feels peaceful, this feels neutral, right? This feels blissful, this feels like stillness, it feels like things are in flow, it feels aligned, it feels resonant, right? It feels guided, right? It feels guided. So it isn't like this feeling of shouting of, but you need to do this, and you need to make this decision, and you need to go in this direction, and you did, right? All ego. It's so clear what these two different energies are and where they're coming from. We just need to get in tuned to feeling them all the time, so that you know, what am I following? What am I listening to, right? What am I subscribing to? Which narrative am I aligning to? And therefore, which narrative am I creating in my life? Because all beliefs become my reality, right? Beliefs are just thoughts that you think over and over and over and over again. And so the more you focus on something, the more you're going to see it come up in your reality. And so we know how this game plays out, right? For most of you on the other side of the camera, you've probably been on this path for long enough that it's annoying you enough that you're watching these videos. And so you know which direction to go. Like, I highly doubt that anybody who's watching this video doesn't know what these two different energies feel like. And so it's literally a place of saying, which one am I gonna like align to? Right? I mean, this path, as I keep saying, it's really super simple. It's not a complicated path. But the ego mind, the emotional pain body are going to make it as complicated as they possibly can. And it's not villainizing them, it's just the awareness of that's the roles that they have been playing in separation consciousness in the 3D. But the role that you're being asked to now play is unity consciousness in the 5D. Still in your 3D avatar, right? But you're moving from unity consciousness now. That's what ascension does. It's a process of awakening. That's what's happening if you're on a twin flame path. And so in that same, field, having the awareness is, if I'm moving from 5D consciousness, if I'm moving from unity consciousness, what does that look like in partnership with the twin? Because it doesn't look like this, I can promise you that. It doesn't look like a 3D paradigm of any sort of romantic interaction that you have had in the past. It's not what it looks like, because all of those are operating from separation. So they're all operating from, I do this for you, you do this for me, now we're in an argument, now we're making up, I have to show up for you, you need to validate me, blah, 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 and all, the whole thing, right? Again, it's not right, it's not wrong, it just is what it is. But unity consciousness templates and relationship do not operate like that. And so this is what I'm trying to get across, is that the soul that is you, the higher self is you, is creating this template for you in 5D unity consciousness interaction with another, right? This is already there. The timeline is already there. It's just a matter of stepping into the timeline and remembering that that's what you are, right? And so what's happening is that we're not seeing that, or if we are seeing that, we're feeling like that's foreign to me. I don't know what that is. That's unknown, so I don't know how to get there. And so we're just constantly rocking back onto the default system of the 3D romantic partnership based on separation consciousness. But ascension and awakening is breaking you out of separation consciousness. It simply will not work with the twin if you're still running separation. You can't be in separation consciousness and have a loving, harmonious, physical interaction that is lasting with the twin. Because that interaction, you and you, is moving from unity consciousness. It's moving from non-duality, right? Separation consciousness is moving from duality. All fine and good, but you and the twin don't operate in duality as one succinct, we get along, we're, making this thing work, all of that sort of stuff. It doesn't work. That's what creates the on and off and the up and down. There are too many fear components going on, right? There's too many of those old 3D templates of romantic relationship going on for it to work, because it's just bringing in this whole narrative of I'm separate from you and you're separate from me. Unity consciousness isn't separate from anything. It's oneness, right? It's oneness, and you and your twin are one. And so in order to have a harmonious physical interaction with the twin, regardless of how that shows up, you have to collapse the duality of the old program, which means you have to collapse that separation consciousness. It can't hang out with you in unity consciousness, right? The 5D frequency that you are creating of new interaction and relationship templates with other. That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing, right? It's bigger than just a romantic partnership. And when you get into that romantic partnership or just any harmonious physical interaction with the twin, that means that you have shifted into that unity consciousness. It means you are now a part of creating that new template that is running from oneness, interconnectivity, peace, love, joy, abundance, all of these things that the ascension process is shifting you into. So we need to have that awareness of what choice are we making. The ascension is going to take you either way, but as I've said before, this can still be a let go or be dragged kind of situation if we're digging our heels in the ground and we're aligning all the time to the wounds and we're aligning to, you know, the ego ramblings and all of that stuff and the old narrative. It makes this thing last longer. It just does. It'll make it last longer than if you just get on board with the fact that this is not a 3D paradigm romantic situation or physical interaction with a karmic or a soulmate or a non-soul family member. This is union between me and me. And so in order for me to get off the, you know, the escalator that keeps going up and down and up and down and up and down in regard to me and the twin, I need to get on board with what union is and what unity consciousness is. So again, as I've said before, I need to fully embrace the fact that I'm going through an awakening process. And I need to start focusing on having that balance of the masculine and feminine within me and collapsing that separation that I feel is showing up in my external reality because I feel that separation within. Collapsing the separation within is what makes the external without suddenly show up in a harmonious way, right? So hopefully that makes sense. Yes, you are experiencing the 3D avatar, 3D stuff, but you are shifting out of separation consciousness and into unity consciousness, which means you will be experiencing the 3D avatar and the 3D things, but you will be operating from a 5D consciousness, from unity consciousness, right? That's what's going on here. So really embrace the fact that the higher masculine is always with you. The higher masculine is always supporting you. The higher masculine has never left. The higher masculine is you, right? The more you embrace this, the more you can take your focus off always playing that old 3D paradigm around what the physical masculine is doing or not doing. Allow the triggers to come up. Allow yourself to process that, to transmute that energy, and bring that love to you over and over and over again. As I've said, it's a you and you game, right? This is a you and you path. The twin is you, right? So when I say it's you and you, that's the same thing. The twin is you. The twin is not separate from you. We are perceiving that. The ego is perceiving that. But this is just the soul experiencing itself twice in order for its own growth, right? And its own expansion. So it's a you and you game, and the twin is you, and the twin is always with you. So do your best to just really start shifting into your higher knowing and your higher awareness, you know, tapping into that, and start trusting the fact that the reason that you're seeing a million signs all the time and all of these things are around you, right? And you still kind of like, you know, hitching a ride down that old exit into the 3D world, right? And your soul and your higher self is like, how much can we possibly show you that we are moving towards 5D unity consciousness? That's what we're doing, right? It's like they've got all the signs up. Yep, they're your biggest cheerleaders. Start trusting them, right? Start paying attention to them. Start aligning to that. Start feeling that energy that feels buoyant and peaceful and joyful and aligned, right? And start recognizing that that other stuff that feels heavy and loud and chaotic is not your highest timeline, and it's not the way that you're being directed to go. You're being directed to go into a much higher timeline. Right? So that's what I have for you guys. I hope you have an awesome day.